What's poppin', y'all? We're seeing former foes come together and have a pleasant conversation. So for those of you that may not be familiar, years ago, Lil Yachty and Joe Budden were on a show together. It was Academics and Joe Budden's show called Everyday Struggle. This was this might have been 2017. It couldn't have been 2018. It was one of the first episodes. So this was 2017 and Yachty was a guest on the show. It was the first interview that Joe Budden had ever done with an artist. And I think he recalls this in their podcast episode, which was done on Yachty's, I think it's a Safe Space. I don't remember the name, but that's his podcast that's powered by Nelk. So they had this conversation and Joe Budden was Joe Buddening on Everyday Struggle. The guy was yelling, he was loud, he was animated, he was frustrating. He was going to get people to feel an emotion, which was very, very good for the show's ratings. So he goes in on Yachty. Yachty's just chilling. He's like, man, I don't know, I'm having fun. And then he asks him like, oh, do you even know what your deal is? Do you even know how you're signed? He's just yelling at Yachty. And there's a famous picture where I made a little edit of it on the thumbnail, but you see the veins popping out of Joe Budden. He's red. Joe Budden's turning red, just yelling at Yachty, and Yachty's just in shock. Yachty probably had no idea what deal he was in. He even says he had no idea what deal he was in. He was talking about how much money he was making that year, in large part probably from the endorsements. He said he made $13 million that first year in the game. Has he made $13 million since? I don't know, but who cares? He made $13 million first year in the game. He was like, what, 19, 20? Yeah, take me back a couple of years when I'm 19, 20 and give me that amount of money. I don't need to make it again. So this created a bit of a rift because later on, he would continuously use Yachty as like the punchline of jokes. And then Migos would release a song called Ice Tray with Yachty featured on it. If they say, oh, if he hatin', call him Joe Budden. And this beef with QC that stemmed from Yachty, who was signed to QC, would peak at the infamous moment for Academics, where they're interviewing the Migos at the BET Awards, and then Joe Budden just walks off because he had a run-in with QC's record executives. I think it was P and I think it was just P or Coach K, I don't know. But they tried to press him when he was trying to buy socks in the store earlier that day, and then they weren't really answering. They gave a vibe, and there was this confrontation. They ended up patching things a little bit later, but now they have the conversation once again. This time it's Yachty and Joe Budden, and I always respected Joe Budden for that moment because there are too many interviewers that keep trying to pull teeth, trying to get a rapper to say something that they don't want to say. Yo, just cut it. Just walk off. They're demonstrating a level of disrespect, and then you're there just supplicating to them. So now I think that's behind all of them. That's in the past. It's been 6-7 years since then. And Joe Budden now gives some apologies to Yachty because he didn't think Yachty was going to last. He also was, I wouldn't say he was hating, but Lil Uzi Vert, he didn't really buy it too much into that. A lot of these artists from that era, he did show respect to XXXTentacion though. That's where Joe Budden is. I got to show a lot of respect to Joe Budden. Anybody that appreciated XXXTentacion while he was alive, that was grown. Not these teeny boppers, teenagers. And that's not to denigrate teenagers in any type of way. But it takes a different level of understanding or appreciation when you're older for a younger artist like that than someone that's in your own age group. So they have the conversation, and Yachty asked him, like, yo, did you think I was going to last this long? I'll play you guys the interview clip. We'll see if they keep it in or not. If I have to take it out, it's because of the copyright.
That ain't impressive to me no more.
Let me ask you, did you think I was going to last this long?
No.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Not at all. You shit me? That was my very first interview with an artist.
What's it?
Ever.
That makes so much sense.
That's why it's not one of my proudest moments.
It does.
So Joe Budden here, he apologizes or he makes amends. He's like, nah, I did not think that you were going to last this long. And that Yachty would be doing what he was doing. He definitely didn't think that Yachty would be penning hits for City Girls. He didn't think that Yachty would be giving entire songs to Drake. Let's not forget that. We need not rewrite history when it comes to this. Yachty gave a full song to Drake. Drake performed that song and everybody loved it. I think it was Jumbotron Poppin'. Was that the song? I believe that was the song. Everybody loved that song. People just seem to sweep that under the rug. And I'm not saying that to knock Drake. It's very easy to knock Drake if you're talking about people writing for him. But I'm saying that to uplift Yachty in this scenario. So I think Joe Budden was just in awe, in amazement. Not to mention the fact that Yachty learned to rap since then, 2017. Yachty became a very, very good rapper when it came to putting together bars. And Joe Budden even admitted that he really enjoyed Yachty's last album. album. So this is a good thing about Joe Budden too, is he continuously kept checking on Yachty, what he was dropping, what type of music he was making. And the fact that he was doing that means that Yachty was staying on his radar, because there are other artists from that era. I guarantee that Joe Budden never looks into what they drop because they're not relevant enough for him to pay attention. And relevance is more on a spectrum, but you've got to pass a certain threshold for people to even know you drop. Like, there are a lot of people that have no idea. Let's say somebody that was really popular during Yachty's era, that Yachty even had a hit song with I Spy, Kyle. I don't think that most people knew that Kyle dropped this year and last year. And it was an album that a couple of friends of mine were telling me to check out. They're like, yo, you got to check out this Kyle album. It's good. And granted, Kyle has been independent for a while, so he's not going to get the look that a lot of these other artists are going to get from that same era. But that just goes to show that Kyle falls under, or formerly known as Super Duper Kyle, he falls below that minimum threshold of popularity or relevance that a Joe Budden or the average rap consumer in general would be listening to. Yachty passes that. And Yachty, I would say, is as relevant or as popular as he's ever been. Not solely for his own music, but as a whole, as a celebrity, and as a rapper. Like, he's not dropping hits of his own. Poland, that was what, a year or two ago, probably 2 years ago max. That was an accident. That did really, really big numbers. He was one of the first people to adopt Yeet as well. I think he was the first rapper to talk about Yeet. Now, I don't know if they did music. That just goes to show how much music be releasing that I can't even keep up. So Yachty is really, really tapped into the culture, in he's kind of, I would say, a bridge. You've got him with Drake, and you've got him seeing people like, for example, the Flint, Michigan scene early on, one of the first mainstream artists to tap in with them and really show love to them and help elevate them to do their own thing. He reached out, one of the first artists to reach out to Yeet. Also one of the first artists to reach out to this dude, Ian, I think, who's somewhat, I wouldn't say a spin-off of Yeet, but he falls under that same umbrella. I think he does have a song with that Ian dude, right? Hey, who knows? I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Yeah, I wasn't tripping at all. They do have a song together called Hate Me on Lyrical Lemonade. And the funny part about this is, I think this has, I wouldn't say it made Yachty big-headed, but Yachty recently had put out that, oh, Atlanta is leading in culture or fashion trends, which, okay, that's definitely not true. If anything, when you're talking about style, fashion, it's New York and maybe you could say LA, but I think LA is more so the whole package than just the clothes aspect of it. Like, for example, LA, the clothes are an embodiment of the not only culture, but how an individual carries himself. Whereas New York City fashion, it's a degree of just the clothing. It's difficult to explain. Also, what crew or just what Atlanta fashion trends have even happened. I don't want to turn this into a conversation about that, because while I do find style, now I used to care about that fashion stuff a lot more back in the day. Not as much now. I still think style is cool, but it's not something that I enjoy having conversations about on the internet. It's something that I'll just have like personal conversations with people. But regardless, Yachty's important position within hip hop, I think, has him kind of in a moat. Who else is relatively young, right? Yachty's still under 30, that's tapped into this new generation. This new generation messes with him. And the generation that grew up on him, like from 2016, those people are in their mid-20s now. And that's working with Drake, who has an older fan base too. And he's writing hits for these people. So he's able to resonate his music with an older audience because he gave it to Drake, and older audience messed with that. And he's able to do songs with these younger cats. So that's something that we have to show appreciation for. And I think Joe Budden, whilst not verbalizing that, I'm almost certain that that's something he has a lot of respect for. And more than anyone else, Joe Budden knows how difficult it is to stay active, relevant, poppin', and innovating your own music, let alone helping other people with their music inside the music game. So I was really happy to see this come full circle. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.